This is my brother Clement. As a baby, isn't he the cutest? 10 years ago, he was in a car accident where he was the pedestrian. After a night at the hospital, we said our final and one-sided goodbyes. It may seem odd to be grateful for something like loss, but I'm immensely thankful for the invaluable lessons he's taught me. One of the most important being, if you can learn to see the good in any situation and in any person, nothing and no one will ever be able to hold you down. In this ever-changing and complex world, his absence reminds me daily that it's a privilege to be alive and to not take a single day or breath for granted. Over the past 10 years, I've had my fair share of ups and downs, from party wild child to workaholic grandma, and a lot of time to cope, heal, and learn. So I wanted to make this video for anyone who has experienced a similar loss, and anyone who will inevitably go through loss in the future. Even loss of a friendship, loss of a boyfriend or girlfriend, loss of an opportunity. Because at the end of the day, they're all losses, and what's most important is how we pick ourselves up and move forward with grace and compassion for all those around us, and especially for ourselves. Time really is such a beautiful thing. It's such a magical thing, and I think the essence and the ultimate beauty of having time is that we have time. If we want to think of loss in a sense that a loved one has departed earlier, like my brother, he doesn't have any more time. Our parents who may have departed earlier don't have any more time left. Our furry friends who departed earlier, they don't have any more time left. But we have time left. The quote, "Time heals all wounds." I feel like time alone doesn't heal wounds. Time that you spent to get to know yourself, to forgive yourself, to accept yourself or accept reality, that self-growth, looking inward and internal digging that you do throughout time, that is what helps heal yourself. Time plus work, that is a winning formula. So with all of this, give yourself time to heal, give yourself time to fully go through the 5 stages of grief. I think Hollywood has done a phenomenal job at highlighting the 5 stages of grief in the past couple of decades. The first stage is denial, and then it's anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean that you're okay with this person not being here or you're okay with the loss. It just means that you're accepting the reality that this is what's happening. So how I went through the 5 stages of grief, I think I actually arrived at acceptance fairly quickly. When I was at the hospital, I just kind of like intuition, something was just like, that's it. There's nothing you or anyone can do that could bring him back. Because of that, I think I bypassed denial pretty quickly. For anger and for bargaining, I knew that no matter how angry I felt, no matter how much I blamed other people, no matter how much resentment I have towards whoever caused him this much pain and suffering, none of that was gonna help bring him back. So I was like, okay, depression. Previous to all of this happening, I've been quite depressed because I've been there and I've experienced the lack of motivation. I've experienced a loss of appetite. I experienced like a lack of interest in anything and just a severe lack of hope. I realized I don't want to continue doing that because that's not what my brother would have wanted me to do. So very quickly moved to acceptance. Again, it didn't mean that I was okay that he wasn't here. It meant that I accepted the fact that he wasn't here so that I could very quickly move on to what I can do for my parents, and what I can do for my family to help with the situation rather than be stuck in here. I went through the 5 stages pretty quickly, but for me to really reach a point in my life where I fully accept it and think of my brother and have it be like a happy thing rather than a sad thing, that took a lot of work and that took a lot of time. And I went through that in the 5 stages of change, how it changed my life, that I will link up here, where I shared with you guys a few dreams that I've had that really helped, made me at peace. This was probably one of the harder things for me because right when everything happened, I accepted it. I knew that it happened. I knew what I had to do, which is to be strong. Well, I wanted to be strong. So with that, I denied myself fully of feeling sadness. I was like, I don't want to be sad, so I'm not going to be sad. And for 4 years, I was not sad. Okay, that's a lie. There's days, a few days out of the year where I would be so sad to the point of crying in fetal position, and so much pain from crying. I didn't know it was possible to have that much pain when you cry and when you're sad. But anyway, because I didn't want to feel like that all the time, I just didn't let myself feel for most of the year. With that, I didn't know until later on that when you deny yourself of one feeling, you're actually denying yourself from all feelings. So I've talked about this before. I wasn't feeling sadness, but at the same time, I wasn't feeling happiness. I wasn't feeling joy. I wasn't feeling peace. I wasn't feeling anything. And I was just kind of like this little numb robot that was just going through life trying to make things happen, but on autopilot. If I could go back in time, that would be what I would tell myself very early on. You have experienced something that warrants you to grieve, that warrants you to be sad, and it's totally fine to be that. My letting myself feel phase was delayed a full 4 years, where I told myself, and I also wrote about this in my How I Wrote My Life Together. You can read it up here. I'll also link it here. Where I told myself, feel, wallow, do what you need to do, be sad, don't do anything, grieve, fully commit to doing that, and then come out of it. I gave myself time. I gave myself time. Be it a month, be it 2 months, be it half a year, be it a year. I knew that this grieving period, as with all things in life, will only be temporary. So I let myself do that, and I came out a brand new person. The person that you see here, or it led me to where I am here. If you want to hear my story, how I changed, that's a good video to watch. Okay. This is something that I heard in Sheryl Sandberg's commencement speech at UC Berkeley, I think 2000 and something. She mentioned the 3 Ps as how she learned to accept her husband's very sudden and shocking passing. For those of you who may not know, Sheryl Sandberg is the COO of Facebook, and she also wrote the book Lean In. The 3 Ps is coined by Martin Seligman, who's the founder of positive psychology. And the 3 Ps describe how we cope and deal with setbacks in our life. The first one is personalization, the second is permanence, and the third is pervasiveness. The first thing is personalization, thinking that you are the reason or you are the cause for this problem or for this setback, instead of considering that there could have been outside factors to have caused this very painful thing from happening. And the example that Sheryl Sandberg gave was after her husband passed away, she poured through his medical record and she kept blaming herself for not having spotted something like this sooner. But the reality was that what caused his passing was nothing that she or anyone could have prevented. So the personalization is realizing that you are not the cause of something like this happening. If we want to think about loss on a broader scope of a relationship not working out, be it with friends or being with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you could personalize everything and be like, I'm the worst. How come I'm not good enough? What did I do wrong? All of that is personalization, not factoring in the fact that maybe it's not you. Maybe you are perfect just the way you are, and the relationship just wasn't meant to be because karmic relationships have ended and you go your separate ways. That just went quite deep, but here we are. The second thing is permanence, thinking that this bad situation will last forever. I think when you're in the thick of it, where you're in the woods and it's foggy and then the moon is covered and the stars are covered, you're just like in the darkness trying to figure out where you are and where you need to go. It does feel like this thing looming over you is gonna last forever. One thing I've learned in life, especially with what happened to my brother, is that everything is temporary, our lives included. Could be a very sad thing, but it's also a very reassuring thing to know that everything in life is temporary. A bad situation won't last forever, just like how a good situation won't last forever. I think when we realize this, the more we'll be able to live more in the center and in the middle, a more balanced and calm life. Pervasiveness is thinking that one bad thing happening in your life affects every single other aspect of your life. Like, I broke up with my boyfriend, my life is over. But like, no, it's not. There's still so many things worth living for, you know? That just was this is the first example that came to my mind. I knew it wasn't personal. Like, nothing I or anyone could have done could have prevented the car accident from happening. I knew it was only temporary. I think mostly because of my spiritual belief, even though when I was younger, I didn't really want to practice falun dafa for myself. The Buddhist principles helped me understand that there's life before death and life after death, and that everything in life and this lifetime is all temporary. So that helped me cope a lot with the temporary permanence part. And the pervasiveness, I could treat it as the end of the world, or I could treat it as something that helps propel me forward, which brings us to the fourth point. Here is Joseph Campbell's Monomyth hero's journey. If you think of any movie, any of your favorite movies, all your favorite characters, all your favorite protagonists go through this cycle. Just quickly going through it, there's a call of adventure, and then the hero refuses the call, and then there's this supernatural aid that comes, and then trials of error, there's temptation, there's peace and fulfillment before the hero's return, there's a refusal of return, there's the final return, and then the mastering of the two worlds. So with all of this, any drama movie, your favorite heroes will go through some sort of cycle like this. My point of bringing this up is I really believe that something as painful as loss can help be your first call to action. It could be the first stepping stone, like the first step in the many steps to come, if you choose to embrace this challenge and to embrace this journey that's ahead of you. So think of yourself as the protagonist in a movie. How would you want to, like, what kind of movie would you want to play out? Would you want a movie of just like, you know, every day in this corner, like, my life sucks, terrible, so unfair, why is life this way? Or would you rather go out and live your life and have your own hero's journey? Me just doing that wasn't to say that you can't do that. I think you need to do that, and we're all allowed to do that, but you just can't do that for too long. You know, like, there's a time and a place for everything, and I think once the time is up, we gotta get up, put our pants on, and go out into the real world. So that is the fourth thing. If you usually tend to lean on people, it's a good time for you to learn to lean on yourself more. And on the other side, which is the side that I'm on, is I tend to lean on myself. So in times like this, it's good to lean on people and community. I think it really just personality types, maybe introversion, extroversion, or just how you generally cope with stressors in your life. I really do encourage you guys to not be afraid of opening up to your friends. The more that I put it into practice, and the more that I've just been more open with talking to my parents, or like calling them when I'm sad, not being afraid that it will put them in a bad mood. As with all things in life, it takes time, and it's like a muscle that you need to train, but the more you train it, the better you'll get at it. The most important step is that you try, and then let you take the first steps. So those are the 5 ways the 5 things that I wish I knew when everything first happened. I want to share one more thing with you guys. In the top 5 regrets of the dying, a life transformed by the dearly departing, Bronnie Ware, who's a nurse, recorded the top regrets of the dying. And I remember reading this article either in 2011 or 2012. I promised myself and I vowed to myself that I would do everything in my power to limit the should've, could'ves, and would'ves by fully and proactively living my life. There's this quote that I really love. It's something like, the rarest thing in the world is to live. Many people are just existing. That is all. Totally butchered it. I'll throw the quote up. The first regret is, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Health brings a freedom very few realize until they no longer have it. The second, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Hi friends. Hello workaholics. we should not work as hard. All right, the third thing, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Many people suppress their feelings in order to keep peace with others. As a result, they settled for a mediocre existence and never became who they were truly capable of becoming. Many develop illnesses relating to the bitterness and resentment they carried as a result. 4. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. There are many deep regrets about not giving friendships the time and effort that they deserved. Everyone misses their friends when they're dying. 5. I wish that I had let myself be happier. This is a surprisingly common one. Many did not realize until the end that happiness is a choice. They had stayed stuck in old patterns and habits. The so-called comfort of familiarity overflowed into their emotions, as well as their physical lives. Fear of change had them pretending to others and to themselves that they were content, when deep within they longed to laugh properly and have silliness in their life again. That's so touching. Putting myself in the shoe of Bronnie Ware as she wrote this book and as she jotted down all of these notes from her patients at the hospitals, it makes me very emotional. I think the most important thing we take away from this video is that the fact that we are alive, the fact that we're breathing, and the fact that we have time, that is a privilege. We have choices because we're alive. We can choose because we're living. So let's not take any of this for granted.
Let's throw in some voiceover montage. So this is what I posted on my Instagram stories the day of the 10th year anniversary. I am who I am today largely because of this special soul. I wrote this Facebook post 3 days after my brother passed 10 years ago. So this is his life purpose that I've shared in previous videos. I'll link the videos down below. This note that I'm referencing is a Facebook note that I wrote that I'll also link down below, where I share some very personal things. And the key takeaway for all this is life can be short, very, very short. So spend more time with people you love and on things that bring you immense joy. If we're lucky to live until we're old and wrinkly, we'll more likely regret things we didn't do rather than the things we did. No amount of money, status, fame, or material possessions can bring us that inner calm and stillness, knowing that we lived a life we proactively chose to live.
And with that, I'm so grateful for you guys. Truly, thank you for being a part of my journey. Either you just started watching, either you've been around for a few months, either you've been around for a few years, either you've been around since the beginning of the channel's time. Thank you. I really appreciate you. And yeah, thank you guys as always for being here. Here's a hug. I haven't hugged you guys in a long time. All right. Bye. See you guys next week.